It is important for us as historical fencers to understand the context the weapon was used in. Proper context helps us to understand how a weapon was used and why it was used that way. One weapon that quite often gets put into a context it historically didn't belong to is the Iberian Mangual. The Mangual was an area of denial weapon in an urban environment, yet people quite often try to put it into a battlefield context against armored opponents and against polearms. Let's break down what the Iberian Mangual actually is. It is a 3-chained flail with weights on each end. The chains are attached to the handle. It is not a sword, nor is it a thrashing flail. You cannot displace your opponent's weapons with the chains. So how does the Mangual actually keep people away? By creating an area of flying weights that the opponents do not want to get hit by. Both armor and weapons longer than the chains themselves would negate this effect, and a tight formation would prevent you from moving around, which is what you absolutely have to do when using the Mangual. Only through movement and through changing the angles of your swings do you keep yourself safe and build an effective area of attack. The Mangual's weights don't really lend themselves to be effective against an armored opponent. Most of the time it just glances off, and trying to precisely hit the exposed back of the knees or the joints isn't so easy when the opponent is moving around. Now of course a halberdier would not wear full plate, but he would still be moving while trying to stab you with his halberd. This actually brings me to my next point. I often see people comment that manguals were used to wrap around halberd heads. This doesn't usually happen if you're not explicitly trying to strike at the halberd, and even then the chain wrapping around the head is most of the time based on pure luck. Now let's say we did somehow wrap our chain around the halberd. Then what? The halberdier will step forward and simply thrust at you. Trying to disarm the halberdier by wrapping around the lower point of the haft will also result in the mangualist being hit. And that is if the mangualist can even get there, considering the halberdier's polearm outreaches the mangual. Now does this mean the mangual is useless? Of course not. Like I said in the beginning, context matters, and the mangual is a weapon used in an urban environment. In a city, people usually didn't carry polearms or armor in cities during their daily lives, and in a lot of places, weapon length was specified by law. That is the perfect environment for the mangual. An environment where it outreaches every weapon it faces. An environment where people do not wear armor that would deflect the weights. Perfect for area of denial, for crowd control, for bodyguard functions. Similar to the Montante in that regard, yet still unique. At this point I want to thank Elmar Homann, Sven Lichtwardt, and Philip Neseman for the excellent footage they recorded for this video. If you have any more questions or suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. We love talking about everything historical fencing. Thank you.